Welcome back to Getting Past the Premium, everybody. Here today with a part two of an episode I really enjoyed. But we've got David Sliman back with us. We went through and had a great episode last time, right, David? So I'm glad to
Yeah,
have you
a lot of
back.
fun.
This has been fun. This will be fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we're going to continue on our last conversation. So if anybody didn't watch the first episode, I think you should go back, pause right now, go back, listen to that, because that's going to frame up some of this conversation. Although we'll give a little bit of an overview here, but let's jump in. I think it'd be worth, David, giving your background
Sure.
quick, what you do again, just so if anybody is listening to this one, they kind of can piece together who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a company called Sales Performance, and what we do is we go into sales organizations that really just need to kick things into gear, or maybe they're growing, and we need to assess their strategic, market strategy or sales strategy from top to bottom. Now, some companies might need a little bit more in one area than another, but really we look at the sales arm of the organization as a whole and really try to identify gaps and areas where they can improve and really move the needle, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time there's some common ones, but other times there's ones that can be unique to different industries. But yeah, that's what we do. We really amplify the sales results of the organizations.
Totally. Well, what was fun about our first conversation is, that we didn't talk specific to the insurance industry necessarily, although a lot of sales fundamentals apply
Yeah.
across industry, right? There are certainly nuances in every industry.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is so much fun about this conversation is applying what you see in the broader industries and businesses you work with from a sales perspective and applying it to our industry, which was fun about the first episode. I'm excited to get kind of our last two concepts here and modules that we can walk through. So let's give everybody, again, if they're lazy and don't want to go back and listen to
Yeah,
the first
sure.
one, let's give everybody the overview real quick,
Of
30,000 foot
course.
view of the first kind of two concepts we talked about, which is around the sales mindset you need to have and then becoming that pro prospector.
Yeah.
So if you
Absolutely.
don't mind, walk us through that high
Sure.
level.
Yeah, yeah. The program that we offer is an acceleration program, and it's really laying out the DNA of a sales professional or a sales organization and things that they need to do in order to be successful. And we break it down into really four modules. Okay. The first module is mindset. I mean, it really being intentional about sales, also understanding sales, understanding your numbers, being patient that it is a process and that you have to
Yeah.
break through those thresholds and getting repetitions in order to become more successful. And I mean, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of repetitions. I was just, we're talking to you about this, but I was doing a sales training last week and I was really breaking down the amount of repetitions you need to get to a level where you're a pro, right? Because everyone says, hey, you're a pro. Hey, they're a pro at that, or she's a pro at that, or he's a pro at that. Well, they didn't just wake up one
Yeah.
day and
We're
they were
born
a
that way.
pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just didn't happen. So realistically, it took thousands and thousands of reps. And I think really what we came out to is like 10,000 reps is really a level that you're going to get to where you're at a pro level. Now, some people can move a little bit quicker than others, but we really do break that down into a science and a strategy that sales professionals can understand and also apply. Um, so that's our first module is really the mindset of sales in general and really having expectations of what it's going to take to be at the top of your game.
Yeah.
Then our second section or module is really power prospecting. Okay. When you're speaking with somebody or you're engaging with a prospect, you really have to earn the right for their time. And the way that you do that is by bringing value to the conversation. One is identifying some common challenges they may have, but then two, explaining how you do it, and more importantly, what makes you different.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in the first podcast. And the more that you and I started talking, it was like, man, I can totally connect the dots
Yeah.
in the insurance agency
100%.
on how this really translates over to be a more effective professional. And that's whether you're talking with somebody in an elevator or you're at a party, or whether you're, looking or prospecting for business, or at a networking group. It's really the same dialogue. There might be some tweaks here and there on the way that you approach it, but having that fundamental strength and really confidence in explaining what you do and really engaging with somebody on how you're different, and again, leading with challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we spent some time, as you know, talking about that in our industry, because there's a big focus on niche based selling in our industry. Which, if you do focus on a niche, you kind of inherently build that language, and you learn the problems that they are inherently, have in their business and whatnot. Which makes it a lot easier when you're prospecting to speak directly to that business owner. It
Of
doesn't
course.
mean you have to be in a niche in order to be
Yeah.
successful. I think some of the common challenges for business owners, where you can differentiate, you can show them you understand their business, can apply across many different types of
Yeah.
businesses. But the same concept applies, that you've got to be able to show them that you know and understand something about their business that they care about and that they might want to learn more about, in order
Yes.
for them to want to spend more time with you at
Yeah.
the end
And
of the day.
that's it. And what you really summed up there, Ellie, is don't be ordinary.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Like, be different, man. Approach this in a way that's going to be unique from the 10 other people prior and the
Yep.
10 other people after you, so that you stand out. And listen, take some chances. There's going to be some things that you might chop up a little bit in the beginning when you're trying something new. And then there are times where it's really going to resonate and work with somebody. And oh, by the way, I'll pause here. I got my team
Love
behind
it.
me too,
I
my
love it.
dogs, my
Yeah.
other dogs on this side, but
That's
they like to
awesome.
sit in on these podcasts just to see if there's anything they can add to it. So I enjoy
I
having them here with me.
absolutely. I noticed and I was like, that's great. If you're watching on video, you'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is that? What kind of dog is the one on
That's
the?
a golden. They're both golden doodles.
Oh, that's awesome. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that's the crux of it, is just be different and really stand out, and take some chances, and but understand, do your research as well. Take time
Yep.
to do your research.
Yeah. And before we move on to kind of the third concept that we want to
Yeah.
introduce to everybody is, I love that. Don't be ordinary. And I think in our industry, it is common, because we don't sometimes have a lot of good sales training, to sound like everybody else, meaning, let me quote your business. Do you need a little competition on your insurance? All those things that a business owner's heard 100 times,
Yeah.
and does not stand out. And I would encourage everybody to spend the time to think about what makes you stand out. How can you relay that to a client? In ways that are going to kind of make them think twice about hanging up the phone, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so encourage everybody to think through that process. But let's jump to kind of the third concept that we wanted to make sure we had part two for 3 and 4
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
So walk everybody through what you kind of teach in the third concept.
Yeah, the third concept is a real strategic sales presentation. Okay, no presentation should be the same. I mean, there's going to be some elements to that are going to
Common
be
elements. Yep.
common. Yeah, but realistically, there should be some identifiers. Now, it's really important. We talked about I think we talked about well, maybe we didn't talk about the discovery step in the first one, but if we didn't, I'm going to repeat myself anyway. With a great sales presentation framework, here are the 5 stages you really need.
This is where
Okay.
everybody gets a pen out and stops
Yeah,
their car
right.
for driving. Right?
Okay.
Here you
And realistically, this is a sales presentation DNA. Okay. I've worked with organizations across all different facets. And if you have a good DNA and a good structure and a product, you have good bones, you have good foundation, this DNA can be translated over for all types of industry. I've done it. Okay. I've done it a lot of times. So it's no different with the insurance. But the first step in a great solid presentation framework is the discovery step. Most people understand that. Okay. The discovery step is where you're asking questions and you're trying to identify their challenges. Now, you can go in again with your prospecting and go in prior with the most common usually
Yeah.
and kind of throw those out there. But now this is the time to really understand the challenges, what's really important to them, some of the things they've done in the past, how it matched up to their expectations. I mean, there's a number of questions, but there's one thing that I recommend that you all do in the discovery step that most sales professionals just don't do. And this is all across all boards. Okay. It's really simple. Really write this one down. Everyone listening. Set the agenda.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Let
Set
them
the
know what you're gonna
agenda.
do. Yep.
Set the agenda on what you're going to cover that day. Okay. And I'm going to take it a step further. So what you're going to do is and this translates in the personal life. This translates. When do human beings get the most uncomfortable? When they don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah. They don't know what's
right?
coming. Totally.
They don't know what's coming. And it could be with sales, it could be person. It's just that's how we're wired as humans. So when you can set the agenda and what your intentions are for the meeting that day, it kind of settles things down, puts everybody on the same playing field, and draws expectations. Now, the first question you need to ask once you've set the agenda is what were you hoping to get out of today's meeting?
Ooh, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you've set your agenda, you've laid that out, what you're going to do. Okay. Now just ask a quick question. Hey, what were you hoping to get out of today's meeting? And then listen.
That's great.
That's it. Okay. And then you'll have certain questions set up for certain types of industries. Sales and marketing and advertising might have a different set of questions regarding insurance is going to have a different set of questions regarding, policies and things of experience through the client cycle and things that could be challenges. But yeah, you really are trying to identify their experience in this discovery step of your business, how it matched up to their expectations, and how it could have been better or how you can fill some gaps for them. Okay. And I think, specific to the industry, you're gonna know those questions that are really tailored
Yeah.
for that type of prospect.
Yeah, and I think what we're specifically talking about as it relates to our business here, like number one, I love the set the agenda. Uh, if you don't, and you're going in to ask them a bunch of questions, it can get into an interrogation very quickly if they're not prepared for it,
So
and they
true,
will
man.
take it that way.
So
We've
true.
been there,
Yeah.
and so it's very important that they understand exactly what you're doing, and you've set the right amount of time. That's the other thing. We ask for a lot of
Right.
time in those, or more than we think we're going to need. We'll tell them that. We
Hmm.
don't think we're going to need this much time, but we want to make sure if we have a good conversation, we don't get cut short.
Yeah.
Um, but what we're really talking about here is not underwriting information for the insurance folks listening. It's truly the questions that are going to drive in-depth and good conversations to learn
Yeah.
about the client, understand their pain points, understand what they're dealing with, understand how you might be able to help, understand if you can't help. That's just as important.
Yeah.
So it's not what we would call underwriting information. You're not going in to ask like, how many employees do you have and what's your sales and what industry are you in and whatever. That stuff's all great, but you are really, when we say discovery, you're going in to talk to that client about things that are meaningful in their business that help you
Yeah.
understand if you can help them, because that's ultimately what you're going to present on, right? So
That's it.
that's where we're going with it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. And I think what you do, just take this tidbit here. Try to bring down barriers, don't bring up
Yeah.
barriers like you're talking about. And Ellie, that's a great example, right? Like the things you were firing out. Hey, how many employees do you have? But
Yeah.
see, what's going to happen is they're going to sound like everybody else, and all you're going to
Mhm.
do is they're going to feel like they're being sold, and you're going to bring up barriers versus bring them down.
Yeah.
And obviously, you want some commonalities and connections, and anything that you can do to really draw some commonality with them is great too. But yes, it's really important because what this step is going to do for you, even though you're going to have a structured steps in your framework for a presentation, what this is going to do for you, and this is what I led off with, is this going to help tailor your presentation to lead more into their challenges that they gave you in this discovery step so they can put more pressure on areas of where you can help them, and also eliminate things that might not be as important
Yeah.
so you don't have to go through um, and I've seen this before with sales professionals, right? They go, well, I don't think this pertains to you, but I'm going to show you the slide anyway. It's like, all right, well, why even do that? Like, just
Yeah.
like, come on, dude, stop.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case, right?
That means you
Like,
didn't do good discovery, is what that means.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it all really plays. This discovery step really lays the foundation for the rest of the way that you want to put the value in your presentation.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how do you look at efficiency of the sales process? And what I mean by that is it seems like everybody is going to shortening the sales process as much as possible, making it highly efficient, using a lot of automation and whatnot. And we've almost gone the other way where we'll lengthen the sales
Yeah.
cycle if we need to, and we'll go through more discovery. And you can't always do that. You have to read the room and the
Yeah.
prospect a little bit. But before we get to what we're going to talk about here, the presentation stage, we want to be highly confident that we know everything that we need to know about that prospect so that when we present, we don't get any surprises. That's the worst thing you can do when you're presenting is
Yeah.
you find out that Joe is actually the decision maker and you're like, well, who's Joe? What does Joe care about? I don't know Joe. What's going on? I thought you
Right.
made the
Right.
decision.
Yeah.
Or that's a simple example, but how do you
Yes.
view that? Like, do you view it as it's more important to be efficient with time with people, or utilize the right amount of time?
Yeah, I think, you have to be ready for both. Okay.
Yeah,
And this is where the professional needs to come out in you. Okay. And the more that you do this, the more repetitions you get, the more you're going to be in tune with it. Okay. I was brought up 25 years back. Okay. In the sales and marketing space, taught the one call close.
mm,
Every
yeah,
presentation you get, you should be closing this thing and ready to. And if you didn't close it, like what
like a
happened?
badge of
And
honor, right?
yeah,
The one
yeah,
call
totally.
close.
Like
Yeah.
25 years, I'm dating myself a little bit here, but 25 years ago, that's how I was brought up. And after years of doing it, um, so many years, I really identified listen, it can happen. You got to be prepared for that. But realistically, you've got to go into the first presentation or the first meeting with them once you've set the appointment to really I take that time for the discovery step, because now if you're not if you're just gathering information and then moving straight forward to a presentation that's not building value for them, well, what's that really doing for you? So in that discovery step, you have to decide if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to put the brakes on. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to the lab, or I'm going to go back to I'm going to put together a presentation for you, or and a proposal that's going to be most effective based on what you told me. Now, if they've given you enough where you feel like you're confident enough to move forward with the presentation to deliver at that time, I'm good with that too. But you have to really be the discovery step is so important to gauge that
Yeah.
next step. And there are times to call that audit. Hey, like you just said, Elliot. Well, Joe Smith's not here, and he's one of the decision makers. Oh, all right. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get some more information from you, and what I'd like to do is have Joe in the next meeting. Is he here? Can we meet him? If not, when can we set that up? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes no sense for you because you're going to get shot down, or you're not going to get that time with the person who ultimately makes the final decision, or a good percentage of that decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why this discovery step is so important, um, because you really, this dictates how and where you're taking this at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm a big believer now. I mean, through the years of doing this, like I said, I was taught the one call close, take it from the beginning, but you have to be prepared for everything at this point. And I would say more so now for the second and third meeting versus just trying to close this thing and from top to bottom.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going
Yeah.
on the framework of
So
the yep.
yeah, I'll tell you, I'll break down the framework. So here's the framework of here's a great presentation framework. Okay. First step is discovery. Okay. And I go 3D. I call it the 3D. discovery, demo of your product, all right, or and it's kind of an explanation
Yeah.
of your product, what you do, okay, and differentiators, all right,
Different. Yep.
proposal, and close. That's it. Okay, that's really the steps in this. Now, I'll break these down and give you a little bit more, but this framework keeps it simple enough, but yet can compact and put in some really great stuff, right? So the discovery step we talked about, which will take up most of your time, that should be, if you're
Yeah.
speaking 80%, it should the 80-20 rule, which I was taught years ago. They should be speaking 80% of the time. You should be speaking 20. If you feel like you're blabbing and you got, product vomit and all this stuff going on, then just put the brakes on,
Yeah.
okay? All right, so we talked discovery. Now we're going to talk about demo of the products. You have to identify where you're going to have a set structure of some of the products that are most important to this industry or this type of person. When you're explaining those products, you have to take what you learned in the discovery step to put more emphasis on how that builds value for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Say that one more time. You have to take that discovery step, put all the information they gave in your database and your data bank, and really put focus on the products and services that are going to serve them the most. All right. So that's really the second step, is being able to identify. And that's where that audible can be called, right? Where you're like, hey, you know what? I gotta put together a proposal here. But I still need to get more information. I still need to get a read on them, on some of the products that we offer, right? So you want to go through this step of delivering a demo of your products, the things that you feel would be important to them.
Yeah.
Again, because we don't always want to assume. There may be something you bring out that they go, hey, I actually do think this might make sense for me, or I never thought of it, or I was never presented this. So you do want to have a standard on how you present your products.
Yeah. And I think to relate that, to the folks listening, I would not rely on the insurance product or the insurance proposal to be your quote unquote
No,
product.
no,
Because
no.
everybody can have access to those similar products. It has to be, what are the services, the things that you bring to the table unique to you, that you can package, you can talk about, you can put into some sort of a way to discuss, that differentiate you from the other agent or broker, not the insurance policy. Because you got to remember, like, they can probably get that anywhere.
Yes.
So when we say
Yeah.
product, I
Huge
want to be
point.
clear about that. It's you, it's not the carrier.
Yeah. It's the products you offer, it's the things that you can do to solve some of the challenges. It's maybe, and we'll go more into the next D, which is the differentiator, some of your uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
Of some of the products that can help solve that other products don't have out there. And then the other differentiator, because since we're moving into this, is your experience, your level of
Yeah.
expertise, your company you're backed by, your products you sell, whatever that differentiator is, right? Maybe you have access to different types of channels, or maybe you have different access to different types of product. Maybe it's timing, maybe it's onboarding, maybe it's the support behind you, or things that, I mean, anything that the next step, which is that third step, that third D, what the heck makes you different? And put it down. I mean,
Yep.
put it down in a presentation. And I can't stress this enough, especially in the insurance industry. You said it. Your proposal is or your proposal is not your presentation.
Yep.
Like, that's
And that's
it's
what
so
too many
huge.
people rely on. Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now you've got your differentiator. You want to highlight those things that make you different. And again, think about your industry, think about yourself, think about the things you have access to. Think about, I mean, anything and anything that can make your prospect more comfortable in working with you that other companies just don't do. Or maybe they do it, but you do it better.
Yeah, totally. And don't assume. So yeah, the biggest thing there is, don't assume that they know that. So we run into this a lot. And I'll use a very simple, dumb example from our industry, but
Yeah.
certificate processing. So we find a lot that, our standard has always been at our company, if you request a certificate of insurance, we either get it out same day or within 24 hours. Well, we come to find, we just assume that that's how everybody else does it. We did forever, and we realize we'll get a call from a client and they'll be talking about one of the reasons they want to move is they can't get a certificate for 2 weeks. And we're kind of going, what? Like that should be table stakes, But
Yeah.
again, if we don't have that in either some way to ask the question, if that's something they're dealing with, or a standard way to let them know this is a service standard that we hold ourselves to as part of you becoming a client, they're not going to know. And we won't ever know that that was a pain point for them. Or they might just think that's how the industry works and everybody does that.
Right.
So I think don't assume, either have a way in discovery to ask that question so you know whether or not to put this in your presentation, or have a standard way that you're going to go through maybe those base level service standards or something that you commit to that, could be a differentiator, may not be, but this is what you're going to get by doing business with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just don't assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a point.
Been
Yeah. And
there.
other people might say they do it, but maybe you do it better than them.
Yeah,
And
totally.
here's why, right? Because the 2 weeks, you're talking about 2 week lag there.
Yeah, they get
And
certificates out, but
yeah,
they didn't mention that they get them out in 2 weeks. So
yeah,
it's a big difference.
exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
So now we've gone to the third step. And then again, based on how do I want to say it? Based on how involved your proposal's going to be, there's a point here where I like to either, pause the meeting and go back and put a proposal together or advance the meeting. So I'll either do one of two things, a continuation or an advance. And if we're going to continue the meeting and I have enough information to move to proposal at this point, because some industries they can
Yeah.
get that going on the fly. Others, I think insurance is probably going to, now that you've gotten all the information, you're going to have to go back and put together a formal proposal. But always be prepared. There might be someone who says, you know what, this sounds good. Okay, let's talk about the next step. But again, this is where when you're this is why setting the agenda is so important. Because if I'm meeting with somebody and it's maybe a larger business, I'm setting up the expectations in the beginning. I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm going to ask you some questions about your business. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about my products. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit how we're different. And then at that point, I'm going to have enough information to put together a proposal. And then I'll come back for a meeting tomorrow or over the next 48 hours that we'll set at the end of this point. So once you set that expectation, now it's easy for you at that point to go, hey, listen, I'm going to go put that proposal together and we'll set up the meetings tomorrow, work or third or Friday.
Yeah.
So those are the sort of things you need to do. But this is really important. Once you've put together your proposal. Now, if you're going to move to proposal at the same meeting, I'm not sure in your industry if many people do that or they don't, but my guess is they would have to put the proposal together and then
Be
come
my
back.
recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
there's some that'll go for what we call a BOR in that meeting.
Yeah.
My perspective and what we always lean on is, again, unless you're getting all of the right major buying signals, it behooves you to take this information back, which I'm guessing is where you're going to go with this, and build, your presentation based on all the things that, again, give yourself every opportunity to think through all the objections, to button up all the hairy items so that you can go in pretty confident. A lot of
Yeah.
times we'll think that the client's further along. We think we're getting the buying signals. We'll tell them next steps and they're like, well, I'm not ready. And then that's your presentation. You're done.
You're done. And I'm
So
going to give you a really great tool here. Before you go into any proposal, okay, this question now it might be framed a little bit differently in I don't think so, but it could be framed a little bit differently before you go to proposal. Anybody out there, before you go to proposal, you must ask this question. Okay. So if Ellie, I'm working with you, I say, Ellie, great. Hey, thanks for your time yesterday. I want to come back to a proposal. Obviously, we've got a lot of great products that can help you. Here's what makes us different. Here's what I got from the meet. Just a little bit of a recap, right? So listen, I want to ask you one question. Okay. Outside of price, which we're going to go through next. Okay. I'm going to go, is there anything that would hold you back from giving me an opportunity to earn your business?
Yeah.
Like, just ask that
Yep.
question. Okay. Because the last thing you want to do, okay, is have an objection you haven't addressed, then get into price, and then have a pricing objection. And now you're working this uphill battle,
Yep.
right? So at that point, they might go, you know what, Elliot, I was thinking about it. I just have this hang up on this. I was thinking about this a little bit more from our first. Then you can address it and build some value,
Yes.
right?
Bingo.
Objections are building blocks. They are not roadblocks. Okay. They are building blocks, not roadblocks.
I love that. So everybody should take that down and
Okay.
beat that into your brain.
Okay.
Uh, but what I was going to say to that is a lot of times when you ask a question like that, I find that they give you the reasons that they'll buy versus the reasons they won't buy.
Yeah.
It's like, because they almost don't want to tell you the bad things. So
Right.
they'll be like,
Right. Right.
well, okay, yeah, this and that. But really what I'm excited about that you mentioned is this. And now you're all of a sudden getting all the things to focus your
Right.
presentation on that
Right.
may hopefully already know, but
Yeah.
reinforce and whatnot. So keep going. But the
Yeah.
objection thing, I totally agree with.
But yeah, just ask them, outside of a price, which we're going to get to next, I'm going to go through this proposal here. Is there anything that would hold you back from giving me an opportunity to earn your business? And it's earning business. And you really have to go in with that mindset. Nobody owes you anything. You never had the deal.
Yep.
Okay. And we're saying, I lost the deal. No, you never had the
Yeah.
deal. The deal was never there.
That's so
Okay.
true. Yeah.
I just want the opportunity to earn your business. And if they can say yeah to that, great. Okay, now we can go into proposal, right?
Yep.
So now we go into proposal and we talk about all the things that we can do, not only from a conceptual standpoint, but also from a nominal standpoint. And I want to talk about this a little bit, okay? Proposals, it's amazing to me the technology that we have today. And it's amazing to me through the years of even getting proposals for companies who want my business for whatever reason or not for a product or this or that, put together a great proposal. Okay. If your company or if somebody you're working with, or if you're leading the company and your team is throwing an email together with four
No, man.
paragraphs based on numbers and what we can do, like just scrap it now and don't put another proposal out there until you can put your best foot forward. There are a lot of programs out there that can really be customized to help you put together a good proposal. And I assume in your industry, like what you have software that puts that stuff together but
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. I mean,
Oh,
yes and no. What I think most people are going to be familiar with is the insurance proposal, which is taking, the traveler's insurance quote that they're presenting and putting it onto their letterhead
yeah.
and in their format. Again, that might be necessary to do, but what we're referencing, or David is, are all of the things that he's talked about up to this point in a good looking professional presentation. So the
Yes.
differentiators, the reasons why they should do business, the problems you identified, all that. I'm sure you're going to get into more detail, but I want to make that distinction because when we say presentation or proposal, the insurance proposal or quote can be a piece of this, but it is not the
The
only thing. And so
presentation.
that's
Yeah.
where I would say there's not really a standard in the industry of, software that one might use. I think because
Yeah.
some firms have gotten really sophisticated and good at this. Some are still, using the carrier presentations. So
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you have to throw together a PowerPoint, right? Like put some structure to it together and then fill in some numbers, but there's got to be some commonalities on what you do from a conceptual standpoint to help improve what they're doing right now or help fill some gaps. And then you've got to have the breakdown nominal, whether that's and give them the numbers and what they're saving in dollars and cents, what they get from you, or maybe what they're not saving, but maybe what they get is a value added proposition for the presentation. But I'm telling you, you can't put together some schlock or proposal that just reflects numbers, or like you said, does the traveler's insurance thing. You send it over to them. They got to read through it.
Yeah.
Now, again, you can take some pieces and parts of that and really put it together. But listen, if you're going to take the time to do the research, you're going to take the time to meet with them, take the extra time to put together a nice
Totally agree.
proposal. And if you need to lean on a like a graphics person or something, just again, once you've laid down the framework of this thing, then you can just fill in the gaps and fill in the numbers as you go along,
Yeah.
and it'll evolve for you. But I just can't stress it enough. It's an important piece because listen, what kind of confidence are you going to instill in somebody if you throw some email with a bunch of quotes and stamp
Yeah.
in a travel? Again, don't be ordinary, be different. Put some confidence in somebody by putting your best foot forward on a great looking proposal and a PDF or a nice PowerPoint, something that you can go through, break down, and then follow up and send to them.
Yeah. Do you have any, do you lean any one way around sending presentations and proposals versus meeting in person, or at least sending and going over the phone or
Great
something like that?
question. Great question. I train the teams that I work with never to send a proposal unless they're in front of them or they have them on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
They're going to send it. They're going to sit on it. Half it's not going to make sense. They're not going to be able to explain it. They're not going to be able to get that undivided attention.
You can't
I
handle
can't
objections. You
stress
can't.
it. No way.
Yeah.
Stop email. I tell, and this is my thing. Stop emailing it in. Everybody
Yeah.
emails it in. Email it in. Oh, send me a proposal. Okay, I'll jump through hoops and I'll put a proposal together and I'll send it to you. Oh, just send me that information.
Yeah.
That's not it. Here's how, and again, you can set up the expectation. Again, talk about agenda and expectations. Listen, Ellie, here's how I work. I'm going to put it together a great proposal for you. And if they can't meet in person and they want to do it over phone, you just say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a call. We'll schedule a call at 3 o'clock. I won't send the proposal over until we can connect on the phone, just so that I can go over the information. You get the most out of it. I get the most out of it and answer any questions. Because we might have to make an adjustment or two as we go along
Mhm.
here as well. So do not send proposals over unless I have them on the phone or I'm in person with them to go through it. Once I get them on the phone, I hit that send button and I go, hey, check your inbox. It's in there for you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I totally agree with that. And our
Mhm.
experience, I guess, has been if we've done everything up to that point pretty well, we don't typically run into any issues with that. It's
Right.
almost like they want to meet it again. They've invested time into this.
Yes.
They kind of want to see it through at that point. And so we very rarely run into just like send that over. But I would reiterate what you said, because a lot of times I will see people where maybe they are having a hard time getting them back on the phone or lined up for the presentation. And then eventually they'll just be like, well, all right, I'm just going to send it to them because you know what? What do I have to lose at this point? I'm like, do not do that.
Do
I
no.
don't care if it
Yeah.
takes 6 months, sit on it, because the minute you send it, you lose all control of any part of the process and you don't know how they're going to interpret it. You can't read their mood. You can't read their body language. You just hold on to it and then let them eventually come back to you and say like, you never sent that, David, what the heck? And
Yeah.
say, well, you're right. Yeah. Can we set up a time for Tuesday so I can walk you through what we have to offer you? And
Yeah.
frankly, if they don't want to do that at that stage of the process, they're probably not a good prospect anyways.
So true.
So just
So true.
don't fall in that trap. So I'm so glad you have that same
Yeah.
perspective on that. So
I really do. And because I've seen it, I mean, think about the percentages of people who've sent out proposals, just emailed it in, so to speak.
yeah.
And like, how many have actually moved over the finish line? No. And sometimes, and again, I think it's all about drawing expectations and what we've talked about here. You're right. If somebody's given you the time, they've spent the time with you, they've given the information you need, you've drawn the expectations, you're going to put the proposal together, you draw the expectations that you'll send it over once you get on the phone or back in person with them, like, then there's no questions. And at that
Yeah.
point, if you've done it right, like you said, they're most likely going to be there. And then sometimes people get busy, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, listen, it's on top of, it's on my mind. I'm going to need to take some time, next week to do it. When can we schedule that? But that's really the expectation, is just stop emailing it in. you
Totally
know?
agree. Yep.
Or hey, they call you right away. Hey, can I get that? Can I get a quote?
Yeah,
Can
I'm
I get
so
a
so
quote on
excited. Yeah,
this?
give me
Yeah, I
tell the
need it by
camera.
tomorrow. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. And then you jump through all these hoops, you send it over, you never hear
Oh
from them
my
again because they were just
gosh.
shopping it. No, it's not about that. I
The
mean, that's just
PTSD with the amount
transactional.
of times I've learned that
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
It's just transactional, just a transaction that you're doing at that point. Um,
Exactly.
and then our last and final step is really I don't like using the word, but I use it closing because it's such a common word, but creating the sale, really getting it over the finish line. And I just leave with this when it comes to creating the sale and closing it up. Draw the expectations again of how you're going to keep moving forward with somebody. Um, if we can produce here and you're happy with the results, can I earn your personal business or vice versa? Can I earn your other business? Like really set expectations and understand what their expectations are so that when you do create the sale and you close the deal, you know exactly what their expectations are and exactly what your expectations are to deliver. And,
Yep.
in some industries, it works a little bit different. Like in the marketing advertising space, which I've been in through for years, I never leave a meeting or I train teams never to leave a meeting without expectations on what type of results they want before they leave.
Yeah. Yep.
Because and the same thing goes for your industry. What I would just want to be clear on the expectations of results because I've got an opportunity to earn your business now. And what would I need to do to earn more of your business down the road? What are some of those expectations? And when can we revisit that? Like just be very
Love that.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Totally.
be very clear on that. And it works across all industries. And it might be said a little bit differently
Yeah.
here and
Tweak it.
there,
Yeah.
but the conceptual idea is really important. And doing that.
Yeah.
Um,
I certainly don't think that's done enough in our industry. Again, you're relying on the carrier a lot. You don't have full control, but at the end of the day, you do have control over the client's experience, and you need to understand what they want out of that
yeah.
engagement. And so, well, man, I just looked down and we're coming up on time already. We
Oh my
could
gosh,
we
we're
could
there.
spend 2 hours again diving in here, but no, I think
Been
everybody's going to take
fantastic.
a ton out of this again. David, I
Yeah,
appreciate your time. How can folks again, if they want to learn more about you, if they want to learn more about any of these concepts or what you teach,
sure.
how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just I'm on LinkedIn. So David Sliman, Sliman, on LinkedIn. I also have a website called Sales Proformance, not performance, but just salesproformance.com. So check me out there. You could email me at dsliman@salesproformance.com too if you have any questions or anything, man. Reach out anytime. I love the sales industry. I love the conceptual ideas of improving professionals and organizations. It really is. I've done it. I've
Yeah.
worked inside out for so many years in building organizations that now I have the ability and the blessing to be able to work outside in now and
Yeah.
really help organizations elevate their sales results, their team performance, management performance, everything top to bottom. I just love doing it, and been lucky enough to be blessed with some great people through my years to teach me. And I've
Yeah.
made a lot of mistakes myself to help learn
Yeah.
through these
You got
hurdles,
to.
So it's been
100%.
good, and I appreciate this time. I really enjoy our conversations, top to bottom. It's great.
Yeah, me too. And I know you can tell your passion and professionalism when it comes to sales and just the sales profession as a whole. And so I appreciate you taking the time because I think everybody is going to take a ton out of these conversations. Maybe we'll do it again sometime soon because I think we could, like we said, keep going down a lot of different paths. So
Yeah, for sure,
appreciate
for
you,
sure.
man, and we'll connect again
Great.
soon.
Thanks, Ellie. Appreciate it. Thanks again.